Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the agenda review for the Pittsburgh Public Schools Board of Education. We'll begin this evening with the report from the Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit. And Mr. Brentley, we'll begin with you. Do you have any questions on either the Committee on Education or the Committee on Business?
No questions.
Okay, Dr. Hawley. No questions. Mr. McCray.
No questions or comments, thank you.
Mr. Sumter. Oh, I'm sorry. You said it faster. Because, I'm sorry, I skipped Ms. Baird. Do you want to give us any pointers on it?
I can just say that we're asking for your authorization for two Title I agreements for students from the Penn Hill School District for the intermediate unit to provide services to them, and the agreements between Penn Hill School District for 32 students in the IU, and for one student from Stowe Rocks to provide that service at no cost to the IU. And under the, we have a very light agenda, and we have one contracted service for our computers, and it needs not to exceed $12,000 if we need the service, and then our daily payments. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to the Pittsburgh Public Schools, and we'll start with the Committee on Education. And Dr. Lippert, can you give us any further information?
Sure. Good evening, and I'll go through the standard overview. We do have one correction and two additions, and I'll handle those as we actually go through the packet. This month, we're bringing forward 23 items. We'll first start with the grants and acceptances. So in this, there is an actual correction. So on tab number 1, if you flip to your summary page, we're just going to correct it in your book. And the first tab is accepting money from the National Board of Professional Teaching Standards to support our teachers in pursuing national board certification. The amount that's listed on your tab is incorrect. The amount should be $89,549.99. $89,549.99. And that would actually allow us, if you read through the tab, it says up to 40 teachers. With the increased amount, we'd be able to support up to 50 teachers. Everybody looks like they made that correction, so I'm going to move on. Okay, we have one other acceptance in the first section, and that is an award of $150,000 from the Heinz Foundation to support the after-school academy at King and Langley. You originally supported the after-school academy at King and Langley through the 21st Century Grant. This specific donation is in addition to that, and it's actually supporting the enrichment activities in partnership with City Parks for those two schools. And their programs, actually, it's a 3-year program, and it supports the middle grades at both of those schools. That is it for our proposals and grants, so I'm going to move you into our consultants and contracted services. We have 2 items in this section. The first one is a new contract, and it's with Duquesne University, asking for the services of Dr. Hobson and Dr. Stokes to evaluate our Courageous Conversations Beyond Diversity training. To date, we've trained in the past several, I think it's about 4 years that we've been in partnership. To date, we've trained over 800 staff members, and so we're asking for their services to evaluate our work as part of our racial equity work. The other item is a renewal in this section, and it's to support Pittsburgh Montessori in their Grow Pittsburgh partnership. Moving into our payments authorized section, we have 2 tabs in this section. The first one, tab number 4, item number 4, is asking your authorization to support our annual CAS Expo, which is on November 20th of November. And this is on Duquesne University's campus, and approximately 75 of our CAS students will be presenting their long-term exemplary projects. And what we're asking for is support to have students bused from all around our high schools, as well as awards and costs associated. The next tab in this section, item number 5, is seeking your authorization to support both Dilworth and Fulton in Common Core training for November 6th. And I'm going to move us into our last section, which is our large section this month. There are 17 items, and this is our general authorization section. The first tab in this section, item number 6, is asking your support for a no-cost activity to support 8th and 11th graders, all of them, to take My College Options Post-Secondary Planning Survey. And this is sponsored by NABC, the National Alliance of Black School Educators. And this gives us great information on our students' attitudes and beliefs and potential career opportunities. And this would be our 3rd year doing this, and we typically do it in October and or November. Tab number 7 is an exciting partnership. We're asking your approval for the 4th year to support our 6th grade mentoring program. And this is, of course, in partnership with Youth Futures Commission, the United Way, Mentoring Partnership of Southwestern PA. And the United Way actually raises over, I believe, $600,000 to support this initiative. And what we're seeking is 200 new mentors to support our current 6th graders, and also the continuation of mentoring for 300 of our students that are now in 7th and 8th grade. Tab number 8 is just approval of service providers supporting all of our schools' student assistance programs. And then we have 2 items, item 9 and 10, support our CTE program. The first item actually supports occupational advisory committees, which we have over 220 some volunteers that are assigned to each of our 11 programs that provide advisory support to our CTE programs. And again, these committees meet twice annually, and there's over 220 volunteers that do this work with us. So I know Ms. Mike is very proud of that. Tab number 10, again, is supporting our CTE program. Again, we're very excited about this. This is a no-cost partnership with EverFi. And what this does is it provides access to an online financial literacy program that all of our CTE program students, as well as students enrolled in our CTE personal finance elective, will actually have access to. So we'll be touching over 900 students in total. And it's a 3-year partnership, and what it does, it takes them through a course of study online that gives them financial literacy in terms of banking, scholarships, taxes, credit score, things like that. So I know Ms. Mike is very excited about that partnership. Tab number 11 is a partnership for up to 5 schools, and that's the First Tee program. It's a golf program. They've been in Pittsburgh several years ago, and through the activity of golf, they also teach character education. Okay. Items 12, 13, and 14 relate to our early childhood program. Item 12 is, again, a no-cost partnership to the district, estimated about $5,000, and that's a partnership with the Pittsburgh Association for the Education of Young Children, and that's to participate in a program for me, for you, for later. And that's a partnership sponsored by PNC Grow Up Great, and it's a partnership with Sesame Street. Item number 13 is actually asking the board to approve an activity fee for about $100 per month for students that are included in our early intervention reverse inclusion classrooms, which means that they would pay an activity fee to support the activities that go along in that program. And that's modeled a bit after our tuition model, and it affects 10 students or 10 families that are over the federal income level of 300%. Item number 14, I'm very excited about this. It's the 4th year. It's over $100,000 donation from the Carnegie Science Center to our early childhood program. It will impact 96 classrooms, including our early intervention and early childhood classrooms, and it provides science toolkits for every classroom, a backpack for every student filled with science equipment and other items, and it's funded again by PNC Grow Up Great. Then we move into several items that are donations. Tab 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 are all donations. The first one is from Nordstrom's and New Balance as part of the Shoes That Fit program, and that's for Grandview. They're donating shoes in the amount of $3,500 to Grandview. Item 16 is a $500 donation from Pleasant Properties to support teacher incentives at Faison. Item 17, very proud of Dilworth. Dilworth was named the Clementi School for 2012-13. That's a very big honor. And with that comes about a $25,000 donation that includes iPads, T-shirts for all students, backpacks filled with Pirate and Roberta Clemente memorabilia. Items 18 and 19, which I know that you've heard about, deal with our Manchester Library. Item 18 is actually the cost of, right now, the amount of books that have been donated to the library, totaling about $15,000. And then item 19 is in partnership with Sam's Club and with Coro Northside and that is to do some beautification of the library as well as the school courtyard. We don't have an estimated cost of that donation yet because they haven't started, but it would be painting and carpet and pulling out weeds and planting some perennials, things of that nature. And we're almost done. Thanks for hanging with me. Item number 20 is an amended item for Battelle for Kids, and that supports deepening our work and communications and professional development around our multiple measures, specifically the value-added model. And then I'm going to move into 2 tabs, and they're in your yellow folder. So if we could switch to your yellow folder, and these will be the last 2 tabs that I review. So the first tab in there is item number 21, and that is a donation from the Pittsburgh Firefighters Local Number 1. And that's part of a program called Operation Warm Program, and it's the donation of 89 coats for Conroy students. 74 of the winter coats would go to the K-6 students, and I believe 15 winter coats go to the pre-K. So I know Conroy is very excited and wanted to thank the Pittsburgh Firefighters Local Number 1 for that donation. And last but not least, item 22, also in your yellow folder, is a no-cost partnership with All About Achievement. This will support 3 schools, Miller, UPrep, and Miller, WOW, and UPrep. And the work will be to provide leadership coaching, professional development to staff specifically focused on the Common Core, and help the school work on monitoring student achievement and using data to inform their decisions and make instructional changes. And that approximate value is about $30,000, and it's provided by one of our retired teachers, Karen Hessel, I believe is her name, and she's actually, ironically, done work with ETS around some of the Danielson work, I believe. So it actually turns out to be a really nice partnership. And again, it's at no cost for about $30,000. So I know the schools are very excited about getting to work with this partnership. And that concludes my summary. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Lippert. We'll start with proposals and grants. It's number 1 and 1A, the green pages. Mr. Brentley, we'll start with you. Any questions?
No questions.
Mrs. Khaleesi, Mrs. Fink, Dr. Hawley.
Yes. The National Board of Professional Teaching Standards, we've had this for a long time. Do you keep a record of where the teachers are actually teaching, the ones we already have?
That would require, we do know
sorry.
who the teachers are. We could get that for you. I don't have it tonight, but we could get that for you if you'd like.
I don't need to know their names. I would just like to know what schools they're teaching at. And do you do anything in terms of, I know you support them financially, but what do you do about recruitment, especially at schools that are underachieving, since this is supposed to be one of the areas where teachers are identified as being more than effective. They're exemplar teachers because of their practice. Do we do anything in terms of trying to encourage teachers that are in those low achieving schools to participate in this program?
I can't say, Dr. Hawley, that we do anything specific in the low achieving schools that we would do differently for any of the schools, but I can tell you that the National Board program is very well communicated because the National Board teachers are the best communicators of the National Board process. And in terms of this, this grant acceptance, National Board teachers actually support National Board candidates. So other than us kind of getting involved in logistics like writing board tabs to bring to you, it's typically run by the National Board teachers who are already certified. So we know that that model typically is one of the best models where peers are working with peers and recruiting peers. That's typically how it's gone. And there's 4 facilitators that this grant money actually supports. And those lead facilitators are all National Board certified teachers that actually do the work with teachers. It's a very rigorous, arduous process that you really have to stick with it. So the other thing I'll tell you is that the PFT is a partner with us on this. So the PFT is very aggressive at communicating and trying to get recruitment. We typically get more people interested, and then as you get into the process, because it's so arduous and it competes with other work obligations and life in general, we typically lose some after we start the initial pre-candidacy.
I just wanted to ask that because I've had a couple, but I just wondered if any of them were housed in the schools that are really low achieving, and how can we best utilize some of that work that they're doing to help support children in the district.
We'll try to get you that information.
Thank you, Dr. Hawley. Mr. McCray? Ms. Shealy? Mr. Sumter?
No questions or comments in this section. Thank you at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Sumter. We'll move on to consultants and contracted services. Numbers 2 and 3 on the pink pages. Mr. Brentley, we'll start with you.
I have no comments.
Mrs. Khaleesi.
On number 2, it says that both of these evaluators have done this work before for us. It says these 2 evaluators have previously performed this service for the district, yet this is marked new. Is there a reason for that?
This is a new service because, it's a good question. So,
Really?
what we're asking them to evaluate is a new evaluation project. However, these individuals have been involved in evaluating other district programs such as CRAE and the High School Reform Initiative. So these evaluators aren't new to us, but the particular scope of the project that we're asking them to actually evaluate is the new part, which is why it's not marked as a renewal.
Okay, I guess where it confused me is it says perform this service, so I assumed it meant this exact same service.
It means the evaluation of a program.
Okay, I got it.
That's what this means.
And then number 3, I probably should know this. What's administrative time study? I should know this, huh?
That's the reimbursement from the federal government related to Medicare activity and service we provide students. So there's surveys, we have to monitor and report the work that we provide and the service we provide students, and we get reimbursement for it, and the schools get a share of the money to spend for that.
So is it Medicare money?
It's Medicare money, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Fink?
No questions, but item number 3 with the partnership with Grow Pittsburgh, what would be the chances of that expanding to more schools? I think that's a fabulous program, and I would like to see that expanded to include more schools.
We currently have partnerships with 3 other schools. You might remember some of these kind of trickling in. Colfax has a 4-year partnership. Dilworth has a partnership. I think we just approved that last month. They're 6 years in partnership, and then Faison is 5 years. So typically, we make this opportunity available just like dancing classrooms, and we really encourage principals. But because this is paid out of site-based funds, we know what this is like. It kind of competes for other activities. So we say it's a really great program, but then we let them make the choice of whether they want dancing classrooms, Grow Pittsburgh. Crunk is another one that you see often. So because it's a site-based decision, we promote it as a strong partnership.
Thank you, Mrs. Fink. Dr. Hawley?
Yes, number 2, I want to go back to that. Exactly how are they going to evaluate? Do you know how they're going to do the evaluation? What type of, is it going to be from a survey, or is it just going to be from having interviews, or what?
I'm going to have Vi Burgess, our Executive Director of Equity, provide you some specifics.
Dr. Holler, they would be doing surveys. They would be looking at the surveys that teachers and other district personnel has taken thus far, those who've gone through this training. They will also do interviews with some of these specific individuals that has also gone through the training.
So they're not going to just look at the 2 schools where you have, they're not going to just look at the 2 schools that you have, like Brashear and King, where you have it, but you're going to look at the district as a whole as to how well this is.
Absolutely.
And so after you find out whether or not it's how it was being used, I don't know what the evaluation is actually going to look like. What do you intend to do with the results once you get it?
So one, we're going to look at what could possibly be next steps with some of the work that we're doing with PEG as we look at the equity work within our district.
So will we be given information on the outcomes from the evaluation?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
The one thing I wanted to add is that about a year ago, we started to train our own affiliates. And so we have 10 people that we call affiliates who are actually trained to be Beyond Diversity facilitators, which means we don't have to constantly rely on PEG to come in and do Beyond Diversity training. One of the things that we'll do with the evaluation results is based on what we learn, it will help the affiliates better position the work and also us follow up support so that the work isn't just a two-day workshop and then we don't support the implementation and what it means to actually, instruction, leadership, et cetera. So the other thing I wanted to say just to, I mentioned 800 or so staff went through the Beyond Diversity training over the past several years. It was all administrators, school-based and central office. We had all career ladder teachers, all new teachers over the past 3 years that we've hired through the teacher induction program. All the RISE leadership teams that have supported the implementation of the teacher evaluation system have gone through the training. And then we have a select group of teachers like our African American history and literature teachers all have went through the training. So there's a large group of teachers that we have moved through the training and very diverse so we can get different perspectives on the evaluation.
So thank you for that response. I'm just curious as to how the training has changed the practice of not only teachers, but all personnel within the school district. So I'll be looking forward to seeing those results. That's all.
Thank you, Dr. Hawley. Mr. McCray.
Thank you. I think we covered Grow Pittsburgh pretty well. Not much more I can say about it, except that I always take the opportunity to remind people that some kids don't know what a tomato plant looks like, and hopefully this will correct that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McCray. Ms. Shealy.
Just a quick question. So, in other words, Grow Pittsburgh is the Edible Schoolyard program?
Yeah, I don't know if my understanding is no, but I could probably get you a better answer if David or Christiana want to come up, or Dr. Lane if you know.
I do believe it's two different programs, but Mr. Mason, if you know more detail than that, please get the mic.
They've been two different programs. They combine under the Grow Pittsburgh umbrella. Sometimes it's confused with the Rosemary Trails program of bringing healthy foods into the classroom.
Need everybody to introduce themselves when they take the mic.
So in other words, this is the Edible Schoolyard program. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And just a reminder, when someone has to take the microphone, could you please introduce yourselves for both our stenographer and those that are watching at home? Thank you. For the record, that was Mr. Maystein. Okay. Mr. Sumter.
No comments on this section. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sumter. Moving on to payments authorized, number 4 and 5 on the blue pages. Mr. Brentley, we'll start with you.
I just have a quick question for number 4. This is the.
We're on the yellow. No, we're on the blue. I'm sorry, Mark. I'm losing it.
Okay.
I lost it.
For number 4, this is the CAS program that Dr. Walters coordinates. Is this the same? This is not. What is this?
He specifically coordinates the African American students CAS program. Those students are involved in the CAS program, but he actually does a group of students that are contained within the CAS program, focus on our African American students.
Okay.
And there is at the end of the year, board members typically come to it, the CAS Expo for African American students. I think that's typically in May, if my memory doesn't fail me.
So the number here of students, it's 600 that is in the total CAS program?
Yeah, it's high school.
I'm sorry, say it again?
It's our high school.
Sorry. High school, 600 high school kids.
Okay. And
Children.
Dr. Walters, those students are pulled out of the 600, or it's his students plus this number?
So we have more than 600 students in our CAS program district-wide. I'm almost certain of that. But what this does is bring together 600 people to the CAS Expo. And so I'll tell you who actually comes. So you have parents and you have staff members. all of the freshmen currently who are talented and/or gifted that are in our CAS program classes in 9th grade actually come to the CAS Expo across all of our 9 high schools, including Obama. And then you also have the students that are actually presenting, which the students that are presenting could be CAS students in 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and those students do in fact include the same group of students that Dr. Walter also works with. They could be represented in the 600.
Okay, so we have more than 600 students in the CAS program.
I believe so. This is written that this event pulls 600 people together.
Okay.
But I'd have to run the numbers because just in 2 high schools alone would be very close to 600, if not over 600.
Okay.
So if you want to know that, I can get that to you.
You know, that would be helpful, but more importantly than that is, if someone can answer, are we seeing an increase? I know I've been here on the board for many years, and I remember tons of dollars being dumped into recruitment and so on. And we never had a full report or to see, is it working? And so I'd like to know that. I know there was a target for increasing African Americans in that program, and we were going to be doing some creative things in terms of reaching out to them. So I would like to know, are we seeing a numbers? How much of an impact have those dollars meant in terms of increasing the numbers, primarily for the African Americans? We were able to find out in the past that a lot of students were capable and qualified, but we never invited them and we never reached out, and so those kids were stuck into other programs. And so I'd like to know that, and at some point kind of see where, if it's appropriate for us to pat ourselves on the back to say over 5 years we've had a 5% increase in it or something. So that's my main thing. Okay, I have this confused. I thought it was with what Dr. Walters was involved with. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brentley. Mrs. Khaleesi.
Thank you. Number 6, can we see the results? Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I really am.
I'm fine.
Mr. McCray.
Something we overlooked on number 4, Duquesne is donating the space and they're donating the food. This is a phenomenal. We owe a big thanks to Duquesne University. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. Ms. Shealy. Ditto. Okay, Mr. Sumter.
Thank you, Mrs. Azuda. Can we have one conversation?
Mr. Sumter, Mr. Sumter has the floor. Could that wait, or?
Thank you, Mrs. Azuda. I wanted to bring attention to item number 5, which is Standard Solutions Common Core State, and that's the one where the Board of Directors authorized its proper officers to make payment to Standard Solutions Common Core State to assist teachers at Pittsburgh-Dilworth Pre-K5 and Pittsburgh-Fulton Pre-K5 to prepare for the Common Core State standards. Pittsburgh-Dilworth Pre-K5 and Pittsburgh-Fulton Pre-K5 will join together to receive the training. The first question I have is, what about the other schools in the district, and can we, what will be provided for the other schools, and if not, nothing being provided, can Standard Solutions Common Core State get to the rest of the schools in the district, elementary schools?
We've talked a little bit about this, but the Common Core is a very significant change to the way that we deliver instruction in terms of what children are expected to do at each grade level. So my approach to this, and Dr. Lane's, is that we'll take all the help that people are willing to give us. So we have a lot of things going right now in the district. We have training programs already through our curriculum department, with new curriculums rolling that are already Common Core aligned. Specifically, those are the grades that are actually taking your Keystones in high school. And you probably read the article in the paper where 5th grade has started. So right now we do already have a training program. So All About Achievement, that is the walk-on tab, number 22, as well as the Common Core State Standards solution. What we do is we learn from them as they're here. We work with them. We'll have a couple of our curriculum people at Fulton and Dilworth to make sure that if there's practices that we can replicate, we most certainly will. But our approach is the more the better, because we need a lot of support to move the district where we need to go with Common Core.
I would agree also with that, as far as we'll take on all the resources we can. However, the concern that I have is for consistency and equity throughout the district, and at the cost of which we're paying Standard Solutions Common Core State, can they be paid for other schools? And the thing is to make, again, consistency and standardization. The thing is, Dilworth and Fulton, from my understanding, are performing fairly well. So we're adding to good schools, and there's other schools that are in need. So how can we spread the knowledge throughout is the primary concern on that one.
It is true that both Dilworth and Fulton are two of our higher achieving K-5s, but currently they have no assessments given that are Common Core aligned. So what the impact is right now on schools like Dilworth and Fulton, we won't know until the end of 13-14 when the PSSAs in 3 through 5 are actually Common Core aligned. But to address your equity concern, we are aggressively supporting schools as we move. All schools, in terms of new curriculum, all teachers would get Common Core training. What we do is when we have outside providers in, part of our agreement with them is that they do have to work to ensure that they're enhancing the work that the district's already doing. So it's in addition to, not in place of. And then what we do is make sure that the best practices that are shared, we would most certainly share them across. I currently don't know, because Monica and Kevin really did the work on this, exactly what they're bringing forward, if it's anything new. If it's anything new, then it's our responsibility to make sure that we would expose other schools to that. So right now, I don't exactly know what they're training on 6 hours, but that's why we have our curriculum folks there to address your concerns.
Hopefully we'll find out before the training starts, because if it's nothing new under the sun, then why are we paying for it? The other thing is all other elementary schools are in the same circumstance, aren't they? Okay, so again, not to give any unfair advantage to two schools over the other schools, and then where there is a greater need, making sure that we address that. Thank you. Go ahead.
I talked to one of the principals in regard to this ask that they have, and I believe I'm accurate, that they actually have done some work with this group already, and so that's why they got interested in working with them. And this is something the principals initiated out of their site-based budget, so it isn't the district layering on only giving it to 2 schools. So they decided they wanted to work with these with this organization, but as they were talking, a bunch of other principals were there at the meeting I was at, and got interested and wanted to hear more about it. And so I think that what's going to happen is there may be other schools that might choose to use site-based funds to participate in this as well, based on what they heard from the 2 principals at these 2 schools.
That's good to know. My concern again is there shouldn't be any secrets among principals in the district, in the sense that some initiatives can happen at one school that can't happen at another. Everybody should be at the same place at the same time, so that if they so choose to go for it, they'll at least know about it. Not that these 2 principals know about it and they have the leg up on other principals. It should be the same throughout the whole district as far as level of understanding and knowledge of resources that are available. But thank you. Thank you, Ms. Azuda.
Thank you, Mr. Sumter. Dr. Hawley.
Just to add on to that, for some clarification, to give some support to Kevin and Monica. Both of them were 2 outstanding principals, and you've identified them as one of the 8 or 10 principals that go out and work with other principals, if I'm not mistaken. So I would see that Kevin, that Mr. Bivens and Dr. Lamar would share that experience with the other schools that they're actually working with. So hopefully that will happen, you know, as they go through this process. But it's always good to have someone in the school that's going to spearhead this new work, and so that they can share that work with their colleagues. So I'm pretty sure that that's what will happen with Mr. Bivens and Dr. Lamar.
Thank you, Dr. Hawley. We'll move on now to the yellow sections. Finally, number 6 through 22. And Mr. Brentley, we will begin with you.
First, I just want to make some comments for number 22. Now, this was what Doctor, you mentioned the name of the company here, and I wrote it down here. All About Achievement. Okay. And I just want to, first of all, say that, Dr. Lane, I just want to, and what appears to, so I'm going to take some credit for it early on, what it appears that we are entering into an agreement with this company, a former educator, former Pittsburgh Public School educator, and I've advocated that for the longest in terms of what they could possibly offer to the district. And so I want to thank you and the staff for this particular item. Secondly, while their focus is in the Hill District, I want to also acknowledge that we have in the audience today the president, I believe, and the chair of the Hill District Education Committee, Reverend Dr. Monroe. Can you just put your hands up, Reverend? And also with him is Dr. Marge McMacken, who is working closely with this company. And so this is a sign of encouragement, Doctor, and you know how I've felt strongly about reaching out to former educators. So I'm excited about the partnership. I want to ask if we can make sure that if there's such a term or such a way that we can make sure that we provide some of the in-kind services, making sure that since there's no dollar amount to this, that they are not spending anything on printing or access to any kind of technology, but really bend over backwards to make sure that their work is very, very easy. And then, of course, just letting them know that we really appreciate it. I also just wanted to say a special thank you, who is also here, Dr. Marge McMacken, and to those who watch any of our meetings here, you will always see Dr. McMacken. And Doc, just raise your hand for me, please, just so folks will see you. And she's always there. She's a fighter for all children throughout the city of Pittsburgh. She focused in the Hill District. And, of course, in certain parts of our community, she's often referred to as the #1 soul sister, because she's so caring and so concerned about education, and she'll stay on that. And so this item is a result of her being consistent. This item is a result of her constantly sharing at times when we weren't really opening the doors when we should have in terms of listening to her. So I just want to say thank you so much, Doctor, and on behalf of the students, I know with your involvement and with this company, we're looking for some great things. Also, I think it's really important to highlight the fact that this was a former Pittsburgh Public School educator. And Doctor, I want to just encourage you and the staff to continue to reach out to all of our former educators. There is an organization, what's the name, the Pittsburgh Retirees Association. They are licking their chops because they love the district, and we've been pretty good to them as well. And so I just want to encourage you to please continue to reach out, and we get a problem, let's put it out there and ask if they're willing to assist us. So I wanted to just mention that. Also, somebody just take a second to talk about this. Number 6, the National Alliance of Black Educators. I know that's, somebody tell me about it. I thought it was our local, same organization. Okay, and so the national is gathering information for a national project, or that's going to be locally used?
Dr. Poncelli can help me out here, but essentially we get the survey results, and what NABC does, the National Alliance of Black School Educators, is that this really is surfacing students that show an interest in education-related fields. And then what happens is that through the National Association, they try to partner and get tutoring and mentoring services to really have students who are interested actually matriculate through college into teacher preparation programs, so then we can grow the number of educators that are, grow them as they come through the system. So if they show an interest in the survey, which is why we give it, it's pretty focused. If you read the survey items, it's a very short survey on if they have an interest in education-related fields specifically. Then they ask, what is your age level focus? And then that information goes in to actually provide tutoring, mentoring matches, things of that nature, to try to encourage them to pursue careers in education.
Okay, so this will add a piece to the recruitment process for African-American educators? Or is that a stretch?
No, I think you're absolutely correct.
Okay.
Absolutely correct.
Okay. Good. Well, you know, if you're going to keep us posted on that, just kind of reports and let us know how successful that is. Number 13, and this is the am I still in the right? Okay, activities fee. Tell me a little bit more about this, Doctor. You know, this is how much and how are we doing this? Is it?
Carol Baranmore, Executive Director for Early Childhood Education. These are for the reverse inclusion classrooms for the where it's taught by a special ed early intervention teacher for preschool, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio of a child with special needs and a child without special needs. And if the child without special needs family is over 300% of the federal poverty level, they need to pay an activity fee of $100 a month.
This is new. We've always done this? This is
we used to do it actually several years back, probably 5 or 6 years ago. But because of the number of classrooms, preschool classrooms we had, we did not have that many reverse inclusion classrooms. But since we had a reduction over the last 2 years of preschool classrooms, we've reinstituted reverse inclusion classrooms where 50% of the children are special needs and 50% are typically developing.
Okay. What does that mean? Reverse?
Reverse inclusion means instead of including a child with special needs into a preschool classroom, this is the reverse. So it's a special ed teacher teaching the classroom, and half of the children have special needs and half are typically developing.
Okay. Now, those parents who will be assessed a fee are those parents it's based on the higher income?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have a large amount of?
No, we have 10.
Okay, that's throughout the district?
Throughout we have 11 reverse inclusion classrooms. We have 10 children right now that would be assessed a fee.
Now, do we run into a risk of excluding any parent who meets under the qualifications by having these 10 parents here? In other words, yeah, we're adjusting it because of their income, but this whole program was based upon people that are supposed to be of low income. So are we making sure that we're not locking out anyone, even though we're adjusting and accommodating them? Are we knocking anyone out of a particular slot that's qualified based on these dollars?
No, we serve the low-income families first, and we, in our early childhood as well as our early intervention classrooms. But sometimes in the early intervention reverse inclusion classrooms that we're talking about, it's hard to find the typically developing peers to be peer models in the classrooms. So we have lots of space for them right now.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
I believe that's it. I may have one else toward the end, but that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brentley. Mrs. Khaleesi.
Thank you. The answer for number 6 was provided. I didn't understand what that was in our board update, and now I do get it. So I apologize for the confusion. But I'd like to go to the board tab number 8. This is for the student assistance program. And it says there's no cost to this. I thought we pay these, I don't know what to call them, groups, companies, whatever, for their services along the way. I know I've seen contracts for them.
I'm not sure where Jan is. Is Jan in the room? Mrs. Ripper? I'll try, and then if Jan's here, maybe she can come in. You have seen some of the service providers, Glade Run, Mercy Behavior Health, listed on other board tabs. They were associated with things like mental health therapists in one of our emotional support therapeutic classrooms, and we would pay for their services. Another time that you saw a cost associated is when we had our SIG grants, and we have several SIG schools like Perry, King, Brashear. as part of the grant, it's a requirement that they have mental health partnerships to serve students socially, emotionally, and behaviorally, because they feel like it's the responsibility for us to remove obstacles so that students can learn. So those are more intensive partnerships than what this is. But these are at no cost and have been in existence for quite some time. But you're not crazy. I know you think you're going crazy, but this is, you have seen the same providers with costs associated just in the past couple months.
Okay, but what is exactly the service that they're giving us in kind with this? I mean, we have the ones that we're paying for. What are they giving us? What's the difference between the two, I guess I'm asking?
My understanding, and I don't know, Dr. Lane, if you know more of this because of your work, but so we have student assistant teams in every single school. SAP teams, you might have heard them. These folks support the SAP team, is what they do. But we also have other more intensive, so sometimes we provide in-school counseling, group counseling for certain students that's coordinated through your SAP team. That's what this service agreement actually does. But it doesn't account for services above and beyond the support of the student services team or the SAP program.
And do they get any kind of information that they are privy to on any of these students?
I think, Mrs. Scalise, we're probably going to have to answer some of your questions when Ms. Ripper is available, but what we'll do is maybe see if we can pull together a little more information on this particular tab that we can provide to all the board members so you can be a little bit more aware of this.
What I'm trying to understand is why we pay for some stuff and why we don't, and what exactly are the two different, what are we paying for and what are they giving us for free and why are they, okay? And then what kind of information do they get their hands on? And of course.
And I think if they have relationships with students that would give specific student confidential information, I believe that parents have to give permission for that. And Dr. Holly's shaking her head yes, and she may have been engaged with this when she was a principal. But we can't have anyone giving mental health services to a child, not a district employee, without the parent's permission.
Yeah, and to be sure that they have their clearances to place. Okay. Number 9. This is Miss Mike here? So this is the group of people that are supposed to come together and give us advice or give us some sort of opinions.
Angela Mike, Executive Director, Career and Technical Education. That's correct. They do meet with our teachers and our staff, and they give us advice, particularly around the equipment, our curriculum, and also to make sure our programs are up to industry standards before our students graduate.
So in what form does that information come to you or us? Because it says to the board, and I don't recall ever seeing anything from them.
You're correct. This will probably be the first time that we'll do this. After our next set of Occupational Advisory Committee meetings, we will submit those minutes to also be approved so that you can see what they have recommended for the board and for us to either improve or to continue to do good on. So those things will come before you also, the minutes from the meetings.
And how did we solicit for these individuals?
The majority of the members were recommended by the teachers. A lot of them they had contact with from industry. There were also some folks that we met that came to our networking event that we had in the spring, and they volunteered at that time to be on the committees.
So were any of us asked if we had anybody that we would like to suggest be on this committee?
No, but I would love to do that because we can always use more members.
Yeah, the other thing I notice is a lot of the same last names. And some places you have parent and students. But like, for example, the third and fourth. I mean, I don't know if it's a common name, so. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at their first name. Forgive me, not that one. Let's go down to. Yeah, you have to go down to the bottom of the third page. you have, I don't want to say the names for the sake of privacy. So if we go down from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, from the bottom.
You're sure you're on 3 of 5?
I'm sorry?
Page 3 of 5?
No, page 1 of 5. Here's my thing, okay? Forget about that. Ms. Mike?
I think, as I see the same name, it's usually a parent and a student that are both on it. And
Right.
I think part of the reason for that is, if we have both parent and student, Ms. Mike can correct me if I'm wrong here, that gives the student a way to get to the meetings because their parent is also coming.
No, I'm okay with a parent and a student being on
Okay.
there. I am. I just want to make sure that we're not, I want to make sure that you have a nice group, okay? But as I look at it, like I only seen like one in one area. You have like CTE student and CTE parent, but doesn't give you any idea of what. I'm sorry?
Each occupational advisory committee, we send out letters to the parents, and we invite all of them to be participants at those meetings. Some decide to and some don't. And Dr. Lang was correct in saying that the parent usually brings the student to the meeting.
I'm actually okay more with the parent and the student because it gives both an opportunity to see what's actually going on. But I mean, I really would be interested in knowing how some of these are chosen. I have a few I'd like to give you, in other words.
That's wonderful.
In many fields.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, you might not be that happy later.
No, we would love to have more people on our occupational advisory committees because we really do like to hear from them because they're in the field and they're able to give us advice on what we can do to make sure that we're doing what we need to have our students prepared to go out into industry.
Are the unions encouraged to be part of this?
We have sent letters to the unions, yes.
Yeah, but I mean more than just a letter. Encouraged.
Yes, and the teachers reach out. They're starting now to take more ownership of their occupational advisory committee meetings, and that's how we were able to build such large numbers for these committees.
How often do they meet?
Twice a year.
What time of year would that be?
Usually in the fall and spring.
Could you send that to me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Clacy. Mrs. Fink, Dr. Hawley.
Yes. Okay. Number 7, be a sixth grade mentor. We have a lot of those that we that work with the school district. I'm glad to see that. Are you looking for any that go beyond the 6th grade, like the transition between 8th and 9th grade? And I don't have any problem with this. I was just wondering if we look beyond that as well. And after they're done with the 6th graders, and do they follow these children from year to year?
Yeah, one thing that I can say, and Dr. Lane, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're looking for 200 new 6th grade mentors for this year, and there's 300 that are continuing following the 8th graders that are in 8th grade as well as the 7th graders. So in total, we have about 500 if we fill up our 200 spots, but we currently have 300 that are following their students into 7th and 8th grade, and then from 8th grade to 9th grade, you know that the 8th graders then go into the Promise Readiness Corps where they have the advising and the teaming. So we don't specifically have a transition from 8th grade into 9th grade mentoring, but you do have the whole concept of the Promise Readiness Corps in some of our schools.
I know that the Urban Leagues, and I'm going to mess up the name of, just say it out loud. What is? Yeah, AAA. They're doing
I'm sorry, African American Achievement Trust.
Okay, they're doing the same activity with sixth graders at Westinghouse and University Prep. They had a kickoff last spring, with their program. So we do have I think it's very healthy that we look at the beginning of middle school years. I don't have a problem with that. I just wanted to try and pick up some of those children that are in the 8th grade going to the 9th grade because that's such a volatile year as well. I just wanted to put that out there. If anybody else wanted to start another mentoring program to pick children up. I want to, and I guess I'll say this more during the legislative meeting, but I'm very encouraged at the number of donations and how people actually, but I wanted to ask this question, and I always do when you're talking about shoes and coats for kids. The donation to Grandview, was that something that Nordstrom's and New Balance came to them about, or did they solicit that? That's number 16.
And Dr. Otua can correct me, but my understanding of this is that this is part of the Shoes That Fit program, and that Grandview would have had to get on the Shoes That Fit program so that then they could be selected to receive the donation from Nordstrom.
So they solicited that for themselves. They wrote the grant.
They put their name. They put their name. They put their name out there as part of this program.
Okay. You know, in the past, and I have no problem with any of the schools getting these donations. Don't get me wrong. But in the past, we actually had to. Somebody from the district would actually make sure that all of the schools knew about different types of donations that were given out. So do we still do that?
We do that a lot. That is through Kate Bowers, who I think was, when you were principal, did it. I don't remember this one specifically coming through, but some principals initiate things on their own when they hear about, you know, things, just various associations, things like that. I don't remember this one coming through to all schools, but Kate does one. I mean, it's almost like every week. Sign up for this, NFL Play 60, those types of things. So a lot of them do go through.
Good, that's great. I'm very pleased to hear that. And I just want to give a shout out, if I give out shout outs to Dilworth, that is a major, major donation. And it's so nice for the things that the activities and the support they're going to give to those children. Now, for the library, excuse me, at Manchester, for the books that are coming in, are they going to be reviewed like we do with all new books before we put them on the shelves?
My understanding of this, and David, you correct me if I'm wrong, but that you actually post on Amazon books that are appropriate, and then people actually donate against what you list. So the school would post books that they would want to add to the collection that are in fact appropriate, that would pass the review process of the district. So they're not just, you know, people randomly donating books. They have to do it against a kind of like a pre-printed list, if that makes sense. David, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Donations. Talk about that. Okay. Number 22, the walk-on board tab. I'm excited to see this. Mr. Brentley, my colleague, Mr. Brentley, made some comments about the district supporting this. There are some specific needs that all of the schools are going to have. As a matter of fact, I made these suggestions yesterday when I was at the Hill District Education Committee meeting. One of the ideas that the consultant brought up was the change in the testing schedule for these 3 schools, making sure that we get data in a timely fashion. I'm not trying to give you any more activities on your plate, because I know that plate is really full with the plethora of tests that you're going to be giving these students for the 2012-2013 year, which I'm just, you know, I'm not real happy about all of that. But how I would want the district to support this effort as much as possible to service those children that are in those 3 schools, since they are definitely some of our lowest performing schools and need the type of support that this former teacher, former educator, long-term educator, part of the distinguished educators from the state, a person that actually was in charge of the testing bureau from the Pennsylvania Department of Education. So we really have a jewel here to help support these 3 schools. So I really am going to be an advocate in making sure that we do what all the things that we can do to support this effort. And I want to thank Mr. Hardy and the other 2 principals as well for the work that they're doing around this. And of course, Dr. McMacken for bringing this consultant to us.
If I could respond to that, Dr. Hawley. That's why in the actual board tab, you'll see that part of this will be meeting with district curriculum staff, because clearly we don't want to have, you know, 2 different groups working in a school telling the school 2 different things. And so we want to make sure that things are pretty seamless and aligned. So both the curriculum staff thought this was important, as well as Dr. Hessel believed that was important.
And we talked about that as well yesterday. And my suggestion to them was to make sure that they went, that they had conversations with the testing department and also with the chief academic officer to make sure that we were doing an alignment with what we already have, and no one would be penalized for moving outside that box or actually making another box in order to service these children. So I'm glad that you put that as part, and I'm glad that you put that as part of the board tab. This is exactly what I told them yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hawley. Mr. McCray.
Thank you. There's some really great stuff in this section. All the donations, you know I love to cover donations. But I have a question on number 6, and my concern is the privacy. Do they share this information with any other group, or is this used exclusively for them to gear their study?
Yeah, they have a very tight privacy policy, and it complies with all federal regulations. They're sharing with providers that offer educational products and services. It's restricted quite a bit.
I kind of knew that would be the answer. I just wanted to get it for the record. Thank you. We'll move down to number 10. I think with this kind of partnership, Mr. Joseph, you're going to have some trouble coming up. That's just a comment. Let's see. Of course, we all know 21's the greatest union in the world, but let's go. Number 12, my concern with that is if Big Bird gets fired, what are we going to do? Number 13.
Run for president.
Yeah, that's my next step. Let's see. I can't say enough about Carnegie Science Center. They're terrific what they donate every year, as are the Pittsburgh Pirates. They come up, they're right on top of everything. I'm glad to see Nordstrom's and everybody else is joining the soiree here. This is, whew, there's a lot of people here. And the library at Manchester, I can't say enough about the hard work that goes into it from just one individual, I think, started this whole thing, and I think she deserves a lot of credit for that. And I think we got a huge bandwagon on that. Is that correct, Mr. Maystein? We got a great movement on that, great potential there. And of course, like I said, see, I didn't know 21 was going to be here. This is, of course, we know the Firefighters Local 1 is the greatest union in the world. Did I say that already? No, you didn't say that. Oh, of course, being a retired firefighter from Local Number 1, I don't think it's the greatest union in the world. I know it is, but again, we get some bad press, to be honest with you. Sometimes this is the kind of thing that I love to see, because this is the kind of thing that we do and people don't know about. So I thank you very much for giving us a chance for letting everybody know about this and getting some positive press for my greatest union in the world. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. As a daughter and sister of a firefighter.
There you go, the greatest.
Ms. Shealy.
Thank you. On number 13, Ms. Barone Martin, you made a comment that I'm not sure I understood. My belief was that all children who have IEPs are serviced by the pre-K program regardless of income.
Carol Barone, Executive Director of Early Childhood Education. All children that have IEPs have everything that's on their IEP met, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have a preschool program as part of their IEP. But if they have speech services or occupational therapy services, that's the kind of thing that's in their IEP, no matter where they go. If they go to one of our programs, a community child care, or at home.
But we would be, once a child turns 3, we're obligated to provide that service. If they have, for example, speech services, regardless of income, it's the district's obligation.
Correct. That's not what this activity fee's for. It's for the non-IEP children that are the peer models in a reverse inclusion classroom.
Understood. I just thought you said something that I didn't quite understand when you were explaining it earlier. Thank you. And just a question for Ms. Mike, and I lost the number. Ms. Mike, can she hear me? She can hear me, right? So I can talk while you're walking. Just for your list of members of your council, there are some students. Are they 10th grade? This is a 3-year sign up?
Yes, it's a 3-year term. We ask the students in the 10th grade. However, we encourage students in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade to attend if they can.
So do they generally serve their entire term?
Some do.
Okay.
Some do, yeah. Some of them enjoy it, and they like to give advice on things that they think that they should see happen in the program, so it works out nice.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Azuda.
Thank you, Ms. Shealy. Mr. Sumter.
Thank you, Mrs. Azuda. I want to call attention to item number 11, and that's the Board of Directors of the School District of Pittsburgh authorize its proper officers to enter into a partnership with First Tee National School Program in selected schools. The golf program provides basic information on learning the game of golf, as well as lifelong health and fitness activity, while each lesson emphasizes skills, concepts, and one of the First Tee 9 core values: honesty, integrity, sportsmanship, respect, confidence, responsibility, perseverance, courtesy, and judgment. The concern that I have is in the selection of the schools, and on the board tab it does say 5 K5, K8 schools will be selected based on their willingness to communicate with TFTP liaison on scheduling and delivery of all NSP programs. I would think that all schools would be willing to have a conversation or willing to communicate. However, knowing that they'll be selected, that there's only going to be 10 schools to participate. So the concern is making sure that all schools are aware of this, all schools have the opportunity to compete for this, and that in areas that may need some of this type of activity more than others, that they're encouraged, not forced, but encouraged to participate. So again, it's down to how the schools will be selected. And when it talks about based on their willingness, I know that they're not forced to accept this program, but I would think that, or hope, that all of our schools would be willing to at least communicate. Now, there may be some more things on their plate that they don't have that opportunity, but again, not to those who maybe play golf already or are more inclined to play golf, but to maybe introduce it in schools where it might not be thought of as an activity to do, but because of the benefits derived from the program, I think that needs to be afforded to all the students in the district, or at least have that opportunity.
May I respond to that? Because I know
Sure.
the board tab did provide a lot of information, but didn't provide some of the selection criteria. The selection criteria, it's only 5 schools. It's not 5 K5 and 5 K8, so it's only 5 schools in those 2 configurations. And from the First Tee National Program, what their selection criteria is that when we actually select the schools, they want to make sure that the schools are willing to commit to the teacher training and the program that they have. So that's their criteria. What's not in here is how we plan to select, let's say, 15 schools sign up. Our selection criteria is exactly what you said, that it's put out to all schools. They're encouraged to take advantage of this program. And then what we're doing is actually ranking the schools based on high needs, availability of the program. You know, we have to assess the schools. There might be programs that are already teaching golf or have that as part of their elementary program. That's not a high need school. So the first level is high need schools first. And you know that we have schools tiered based on this. And then we'd go from there. But all schools will have the opportunity to opt in and say, yes, I'm interested. I agree that I'll make the commitment. And then we'll apply our criteria to the selection. And we can let you know which schools we actually select.
Thank you very much. I'd like to draw now attention to item number 17. That's the Board of Directors authorizing its proper officers to accept a donation from the Pittsburgh Pirates to Pittsburgh Dilworth Pre-K 5 that was chosen by the Pirates as a Clemente school for 2012-2013 school year. The concern is that they're going to receive 35 iPads. Those will become property of the district.
Yes, if we accept
Yes.
the donation. Okay, if we accept that donation, yes, they become property of the district.
They will all be inventoried and treated the same as the iPads throughout, that we'll be able to track them, make sure that they don't leave the buildings, making sure they have the proper GPS, whatever we need to put on them, that we can track and maintain those machines.
Yes, we'd like to
safely.
maintain possession of the 35 iPads.
Thank you. And also item number 22, which has been talked about thus far. That's the partnership with oops. All About Achieve. It's in the yeah. I just make this sure. The All About Achievement Incorporated. As Dr. Holly mentioned, there was the Hill District Education Council meeting last evening, which I was able to attend also. And again, I want to recognize Reverend Dr. Johnny Monroe, who's one of the co-founders of that organization. And if other board members have the opportunity to attend a Hill District Education Council meeting, I would encourage you to do so. It's quite informative. There's nourishment for your mind and body provided at the meeting. However, it gives you more insight as to really what's happening in the schools. But again, I want to reiterate, or at least echo the comments that in a situation like this, hopefully it's one of those programs that we would like to see it throughout the entire district, because if it's helping kids, we're in charge of all the kids in the district. But we want to see how it works in these schools first, and these are schools where the principals have signed on for it. But again, these principals need to be given the flexibility and the autonomy to carry out this effort, that it doesn't go completely against the grain of what we do within the district, but outside the box, within the context of educating children, should be afforded in this situation, such that the results may bear out the need to do such. But within reason, as long as they're given the flexibility and autonomy to, if it's a little different in scheduling, whereas we're scheduling testing for 1 week and they want to do it maybe a month or two ahead of time because it affords the ability to assess the data and treat the kids later in the year, those are the kind of things that we need to look at, and what best practices can be derived for the rest of the district. I would say that the Hill District Education Council enthusiastically supports this effort. We were really concerned as making sure that it did arrive to this table this evening, and it'll go forward again to the legislative table next week. So we're encouraged that efforts, whatever, by any means necessary, whatever efforts are necessary, and if this bears out to be beneficial, that the best practices from it can be put forth throughout the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sumter. Mrs. Khaleesi.
I apologize. The board tab for that fire company that we're so proud of, if I understood correctly, they were giving the coats out to more than just this, the school that was listed here. Did I miss something somewhere along the line?
Well, this is a national, the Operation Warm, I believe it's called. Yeah, Operation Warm is all through the country. And so our involvement with Operation Warm, our local firefighter, Local 1, decided to donate to Conroy. So we only have Conroy in right now, but this is a large national program.
Okay, because I know that at least 3 other schools were ready to accept these coats as well. I didn't know it was a national thing. I thought it was a local, but I know that there was at least 3 schools. PTOs contacted me over it. So, because they didn't realize they had to do a board tab.
This came in late, which is why it's a walk-on. Maybe other schools are waiting and holding until next month. It's possible. This is the only one that we know of right now.
Okay, so can I make a suggestion? Maybe an email needs to go out to the principals to make sure they understand a board tab does have to be.
Mrs. Khaleesi, if you know which 3 schools, that'd be real helpful.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so if you can let us know that, and we can let them know that, because honestly, it would be nice to get it accepted this month, because it'll be cold by the
Yeah, I
end of
know.
November.
That's why I'm surprised it's not here. That's why it kind of caught me off guard. When I initially saw it, I just made the assumption that they were also here, but they're not. So that's my point. Thank you. I'll send that to you in about 30 seconds.
We'll make one tab.
Yeah, and we're not going to complain that it came in late. Let's just give them the coats.
I never complain about late board tabs.
No, that's board members that do that. All righty, I got the floor again, Mr. Brentley.
I wanted to just add on number 11. This is the First Tee National School Program. Doctor, in awarding the schools that will receive this program, can we consider setting up a different criteria, and that is making sure when you think about golf, we automatically think in some cases white males, some African American males, but it's important that we let our girls or young ladies know that golfing can be something that's exciting to them as well. So I don't know how you would do it, but I'm only asking that you would keep that in mind in awarding that the gender is important, that we see close to a balance. Also, and Doctor, I think that this would be a program eventually that we can put in a video along with our dancing program, because this is a backdoor way of teaching some real important things as that child grows up. And I just, same thing with the dancing. While they're looking sharp and dancing and smiling and having a great time, they're learning how to be respectful and how to carry themselves in the public and personal and physical appearance. And so all of those things are like hidden lessons that will help those students. So if this golf program is a success and it continues, I don't know, but there's got to be a nice little video that we can begin to put out there to show you what you can do in terms of making, creating tough lessons in a fun way where kids can pick up these skills and learn them and know them the rest of their lives. So I'm hoping that this thing is really going to be a real good success. So please, if you keep that in mind, Doc, I would really appreciate that. Thank you. Yes.
In regard to the gender issue specifically, this, like any other district program, is subject to the law, Title IX, and so this would be participating during a physical education class. So clearly, it's going to be both boys and girls that would be participating. In terms of the video, we'll see what we can do on that. So.
Okay. Now, when they, how extensive are do they? Clothing, or they give them golf clubs? I don't know. I'm just imagining the kids and
well, just by chance, when I was at Allegheny Traditional Academy,
I remember.
we had this program for our middle schoolers, and they would come in, and you can do golf in regular phys ed attire as long as it's comfortable fitting, so they don't get into the clothes and, you know, the
Okay.
ping wear or whatever. But they do bring in the age-appropriate golf clubs. They don't typically hit the hard golf balls inside. They use the, you know,
No plastic ones?
yeah,
Okay.
little plastic ones, little wiffle ball ones. And then they do actually take them on a couple culminating trips to actual golf courses and get them used to, you know, walking the links, that type of stuff. So it is really a nice program.
Nice.
And then the character education piece was a nice piece as well. And we afford, I think at the time we only had it in 8th grade. You know, we used it with our 8th graders, but you can, you know, differentiate how you use the program and which students have access to it. But Nancy Codman also was the one that brought it to Allegheny Middle. And we were very pleased. So I know a lot about this partnership, and it's not just about golf. It really expands to some character education pieces that really can, for middle schoolers, be very beneficial.
Sure, sure. Well, just lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. I'll have to come back to it. Oh, no, here it is. How long have we participated in this program?
They, so this is the first time since I've been here that I remember bringing a board tab forward. And I've been 6 years out of the school, so I don't know what's happened to them in the past 5 years.
Okay.
You know, if they lost funding, I'd have to get that information, but I don't remember us bringing this forward. I don't know if anyone else has recollection, but I'll look into it. Last time I remember them is when I was in the school, and then this is I remember them, and I'm like, oh, well, this is great that this is coming back. I just have to figure out what happened in the interim. So.
Okay. Well, and the final thing, and I don't know how, but is there a way that we can measure the ballroom dancing program in terms of, I know it works, but I mean, how do you measure interviewing the kids if they, you know, have increased their self-esteem or their personal appearance, or do they view respecting young ladies differently than what they used to, or are we noticing certain kids don't wear their pants halfway down? I don't know. How do you measure that to see? I think it would show that, you know, that it's really working. So if we can consider that too, because that's helpful feedback for us to be able to see, yes, they're dancing and they look great, but we also know that the parent, maybe even interview the parents. Have you noticed any difference in activity?
They actually, we do have some type of program evaluation. I don't think it's circulated through the board, but I know I saw it. Dr. Lane, you have recollection of it too. So I think because again, this is a national program, that they do have some evaluation. So we'll look into that, and if we have anything, we'll get it to you.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brentley. What Brad, I'd like to do right now is go through and tell me any of the Committee on Education items you would like to be held for further discussion at the legislative meeting. Mr. Brentley?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
What items do you want pulled for further discussion at the legislative meeting?
I reserve the right to question any and all items that are here before me at the legislative meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Brentley. Mrs. Khaleesi.
Madam Chair, I did not have the opportunity to go through the yellow section, so I hate to do this to you, but I would like to hold most of those. And the yellow section, I didn't have a chance to really go through it. So what I would rather do is, at the legislative meeting, pull them then, if you don't mind. I might not have anything.
Okay, well then, just if there's something that comes up, we can add it that
Yeah,
night.
I wanted to give you the opportunity
Yeah,
of
that's
what way you
fine.
want to do it.
Okay.
That's fine,
We'll just
sorry.
add it that night. Okay.
That's fine, thank you.
Mrs. Fink. Dr. Hawley. Mr. McCray. Ms. Shealy. Thank you. Mr. Sumter. All righty. Moving on to the Committee on Business and Finance. Mr. Joseph, would you like to give us a little overview?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Azuda. Under the Consultants and Contracted Services section, there are 6 items. Item 1 is a 1-year contract with SearchSoft Solutions for a license renewal for the ATS tracking system used by Human Resources. Item 2 is for the purchase of road salt using CoStar's pricing. Item 3 is a 1-year license renewal for Destiny software, which is used in all of the district's libraries. Item 4 is a contract renewal for the district's healthcare advisor, Triad Inc. Item 5 is a contract with Graham Audio Services to provide audio services for the State of the District event on November 15th, actually. And item 6 is the contract with Grant Communications to provide the Pittsburgh Educator. Under payments authorized, there are 3 items. Item 7 is for the district's daily payments. Our change orders, which are minimal this month, are listed under item 8. And item 9 is for an online training course for the district's network security assistant. And finally, under the general authorization section, there are 3 items. Item 10 is an amendment to the contract with Deloitte to conduct the district's single audit. This amendment was needed to cover some additional costs due to additional requirements for testing our funds as well as new GASME requirements. Item 11 is an amendment to the contract with Argus Associates. And finally, item 12 is a donation from Air Technology for catered food that was at the district's 6th annual Business Opportunity Extravaganza, which took place yesterday at Greenway. Thank you, Mrs. Suda.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. We'll begin with consultants and contracted services. It's the bright pink pages, numbers 1 through 6. And we'll start with you, Mr. Brentley.
I just have one question on number 5. While the dollar amount is very, very small, and I rarely raise questions concerning any item with such a small dollar amount, but I'd just like to ask, was this item a bid item that we put this out for bids to see who would bid to do this work? It's minor. It's $1,000, I believe.
This item was negotiated.
Okay, so there was no bidding process?
Correct.
Okay. Well, you know, I have to just put it out there that I would encourage the staff to make sure that if we're going to do the negotiated process where we simply means we will bring in a company and sit them down and say, we want to do this, what's your price, et cetera. I would ask that we would extend that to the women-owned businesses to allow them that extra opportunity, as well as minority companies, to be able to start to begin those relationships, but also more importantly, that we also reach out to the wonderful technicians that we have here today who are from PCTV Studios. They're local, they're professionals, highly qualified, and my guess is if the director, John, was approached over at PCTV to put in a bid, I'm certain that they would have jumped at the opportunity, and I'm certain that they would have easily provided the same service. Not to mention that a lot of their producers are here Pittsburghers, some of them former Pittsburgh Public School teachers and former Pittsburgh Public School students, but it's just a wonderful opportunity to continue for us to develop a relationship. So I'm asking Mr. Joseph in the very near future, any item in the area of audio-visual, that we would also, especially when it's negotiated, which simply means we can approach someone, that we would think hard and think very seriously about approaching the company that these 2 young men are standing behind the camera of, which is community-based, all community folks. And I just think it can go a long way if we extend that invitation to the folks at PCTV as well. Please. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brentley. Mrs. Khaleesi.
Thank you. Number 2, what do we do with the extra salt when we have it left over?
I think our salt is typically bagged salt, it's not bulk salt. And we store it, we had some at Overbrook, we had to remove some out of Ridge before we sold it, so we still have it, we use it the following year.
So this is simply supplying up to a certain amount that we had from last year?
It's adding to what we had left from last year. Last year, we were very fortunate.
Right.
Didn't have to use a lot.
Right, so what I mean is, we have a certain amount we purchase, and
we
then
had,
what
yes.
went down, you're simply replacing?
We're replenishing stock that we did consume, and it's augmenting the stock we have on hand, yes.
Okay, so can you just, and you, obviously not tonight, just give me the answer of how much we spent last year and how much we used? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Khaleesi. Mrs. Fink. Dr. Hawley.
Yes, number 6, Grant Communications Consulting Group. Now, Mr. Brentley talked about the small amount, that's $1,000. I'd like to know why we didn't send out for bid for this large amount, which is $26,857. Because it's the, for the Pittsburgh Educator that's being done by somebody in Massachusetts.
I'll take a stab at answering this related to the activities related to the Pittsburgh Educator and its prior productions. And I think we'll have to wait till we have some folks who might be back from communications and marketing, and we'll see if we have some follow-up answer to you, because it must be related to expertise in past Pittsburgh Educator productions.
Okay, you know, we're actually putting a newspaper together, but I'm sure that there is somebody in Pittsburgh, some organization in Pittsburgh, that could have done this same work. I'm not understanding why we had to go outside the city, outside the state, to get somebody else to do this. So I am definitely, you can put me down for pulling that.
Thank you, Dr. Hawley. Mr. McCray.
I'm good.
Ms. Shealy.
Thank you, Mrs. Azuda. I actually have a similar question for number 2. Does number 2 have, wait, does CoStar's pricing have any consideration of locality? This person or this company is in New York. You're probably driving past 8,000 rock salt suppliers to get to this one.
They're going to drive by 8,000 rock salt drop-off points to deliver it, but we used the CoStar pricing because it was the pricing that was a bid price, and it was set so they actually underbid other people to deliver a long distance. Yes.
Mr. Camardo, there's a couple of things that bother me about it, and I understand lowest bid is lowest bid, but there are minority businesses that could meet this, and then there are local businesses that could meet this contract, and then, I mean, you're driving, that has to be like 400 miles of transportation each way. I mean, that's hundreds of miles of transportation each way.
Well,
so you're burning off a whole lot of gas.
We'll have to find out is their actual point of shipment, because while the companies from Mount Morris, New York, I'm not sure where they have affiliates and other drop points and where we're actually receiving this product from. So I'll find that out too.
It would just be nice that if you could if you look at the CoStar's list to prioritize, if there's any way to prioritize local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shealy. Mr. Sumter.
Thank you, Mrs. Azuda. It's already been mentioned that item number 6 will be pulled for discussion at the legislative meeting, and the concern I have is the Pittsburgh Educator. It's a nice looking document. However, if there's any way that we can get more timely information to parents and students, because the Educator, I believe, comes out, what, 4 times a year? Twice.
Actually, we have reduced the number of times because of budget constraints, and so this time I think we're just doing the spring, but I'll check on that. I know it's fewer than it has been.
Yes, a very important topic to discuss, because, again, the Educator is a document that's caught in time, and it can only produce so much information, and it should be glitzy, positive things that are happening in the district. But I'm looking for a way that we can produce more current information on a timely basis to keep community informed of what's going on. But we can discuss that further next week, hopefully. Thank you very much, Mrs. Azuda.
Thank you, Mr. Sumter. We'll move on. Mr. Brentley.
I just wanted to add on that the piece of what I just mentioned about the $1,000 bid for the audiovisual, I also audio work. I also just wanted to take a moment, and we take a lot of things for granted, but if Mr. Skaniak, Dave, just stick your head, thank you. This is Mr. Magic here. This is the one-man show throughout the district. Any and everything you see on TV, this man's totally responsible, and he's also been responsible for PCTV and us in this district establishing a wonderful relationship with them. So, no one really tells you, but I just want to tell you publicly, thank you for making me look good, you know, on TV. And more importantly, just if you would continue to do what you've been doing, and you've established a relationship that we presently have with PCTV. And I'm just only asking that you would continue to do that. They have training programs over there where the community can come in and get trained. It's a wonderful opportunity for this district to establish relationships. So I just want folks to see you and just to say thank you, and please continue to keep things local. And finally, Doctor, I will support you on that item as well if you decide to pull it, because I can think of several small companies who can do that item in terms of that the magazine locally. You have Talk Magazine, the Renaissance folks, the Pittsburgh Courier. You have any and all of those folks who would probably jump at the opportunity if we offered them a relationship with providing current information in the district. So I just wanted to mention that I would support you in any direction you decide to take that next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brentley. Moving on to the blue section, payments authorized, numbers 7 through 9. Mr. Brentley, we'll start with you.
No questions at this time.
Mrs. Khaleesi.
Thank you. Can somebody explain to me what number 9 is?
Number 9 is an online training course for our network security administrator.
Okay, but I got that, but what does that mean?
So that means this person will receive specific training on the equipment that we have, that we've already purchased regarding security enhancements, as well as existing security issues that are being presented or possibly presented. So this course increases the skill set and provides a preventative training for network security. And network meaning our
English, sorry.
Network meaning the connectivity between our schools. And if you recall, one of our initiatives right now is the wireless project underway, making sure that every school has wireless access. This training will assist in making sure that we lock down those networks as tight as we can.
So this person, this is for one person, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm assuming it's Mr. Miller. Well, he's submitting it. I don't know who it's for.
So our network administrator is Andrea Williams. She's actually a PPS graduate and came through the Cisco Networking Academy and the school system here.
Okay, never mind, because it says here Sean Curran.
Sean is her assistant. He's the assistant network administrator.
Okay, who's getting the training?
So the training is online, so both individuals will be able to benefit from the training. So you walk up to a computer, it's modular, and both administrators can take advantage of the training.
So just them two, or can a lot of other people take advantage of it?
Just those two for this specialty. Each area, they have their own specialty.
So we'll see more of these?
Yes.
Okay, can I ask you a question to go back to those iPads we're gonna get that Mr. Sumter asked you? You gotta do what you gotta do to make them secure and that, so they stay with us. Is that something you add into it so that you know that GPS thing, that you know where it is or isn't? Or did that come with?
If you recall, the board approved, I believe a month or two ago, a software package called AirWatch. And so that application would have to be installed on the units in order to provide tracking for those units.
So when we bought that, that's good for as many as we want?
That's good for, you have your annual renewal for licensing, but if you recall, we talked about making just-in-time purchases, and we're phasing our implementation. So we bought enough licenses for the initial implementation, and as we roll out more and add them to the software application, we'll bring forward additional requests for licenses.
And then this person or persons will be trained to make sure that nobody can breach this? Did I get this right?
So just to be absolutely transparent, network security, you can only do as much as you can do. As there's, you are only as secure as your current plan. And so you always have your hackers, and we see that by the banks and those type of things.
I get that. I get you're always going to get that genius out there that's going to, but what I'm trying to understand is it's kind of, put yourself in my shoes for a second, okay? You're saying that you're going to go online to get training to not breach what's online. Is it me that's looking at it like this?
So
wondering, okay, come on.
Think an analogy would be there are highways, but information highways between all of our schools. And so this training would be the state troopers for those highways between our schools. And while we are in an age where everything is moving online, and so this training provides those state troopers those immediate skills for securing that highway for connectivity between the schools.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Khaleesi. Mrs. Fink. Dr. Hawley. Yeah.
Yes, I'm fine.
Mr. McCray? Ms. Shealy?
Just a question, Mr. Camarda. There's two, in the change order list, there's two air moving related things. Do we regularly inspect the airflow systems in our schools to know that they are operational?
Yes.
Okay. So how weren't these discovered?
This is part of the discovery. This is part of the process.
Okay. So should they be coming to us through change orders?
I think it's because of the work that was
Oh,
being
they
done.
were inspecting and they
it's
found
part
it.
of the work that was
Thank you.
being done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shealy. Mr. Sumter?
No comments or questions. I'm good.
All righty, moving on to general authorizations. They're the yellow pages, number 10 through 12. No questions, Mrs. Khaleesi?
No.
Mrs. Fink? Dr. Hawley?
Yes. Thank you. I'm sorry. I do apologize. Number 10, is there a reason why we're extending this? It's the dilute and
The term of the actual contract isn't being extended. It's just that it's additional costs that are associated with our receipt of the ARA funds, just additional testing and compliance measures.
But why are we extending the contract?
No, I think, I'll try. Ms. Clays, I think that the contract always was out to 2013. What you're amending is the cost for the audit that was completed for the payable in 2012 for the 2011 audit. And as Mr. Joves has described, there was the additional work related to ARA funds and other GASB requirements. More work had to be done.
Okay, but when you initially put out this bid, whatever you want to call it, did it not include these things, and why not?
That work did not exist at the time of the initial bid.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Number 11. Now, the total cost of this contract with Argus Associates is $1 million. The contract term will be extended from December 31st, 2013 to June 30th, 2016, in the amount of $1,500,000. Why are we extending this contract until we know what this organization is actually able to do? And the fact that you're not putting this out for bid, again, I have a problem with this. You're just giving these people more money.
So the Argus contract, this is a local woman-owned business. You mentioned earlier, Dr. Holly, about the plate that's very full as it relates to data requirements from grants and all of the other work that's coming into the district. And so this company is actually providing resources to assist us in creating those data as required for decision-making in the school. And so you have this company providing a very expensive skill set, quite frankly, that can't be covered in the current IT budget over a period of 3 years.
I'm not saying that it may not be needed, and if I said that, I don't want people to be confused. My concern is this is a lot of money, and again, it's not put out for bid. It's just like we just gave these people, this group, some more money, and you're extending their contract.
And so let me try to explain the approach and risk of not extending. So we have a set of folks working with us right now that have gone through our infrastructure and have learned our technology infrastructure. And so to put this out to bid again and not extend those resources that are there, we're going to experience risk as well as loss in time of productivity, which in the short time that we have to deliver work can be substantial.
Okay, here I go again. Walking out on faith, Mr. Campbell. Want to walk out on this limb with you on this one, and hopefully this is not going to come back to bite us, because I really want to make sure that we're doing, that we're giving people that are in the community, business people in the community, a fair opportunity to, I know they're from the community, but still, you know, you want to spread it around and give everybody an opportunity. But if you're telling me from your expertise that that they've been doing this work and it would hurt us in the long run, then I'm going to accept that. But I needed to know why we're giving them this extra time and all this extra money. Let's hope that it works. Okay, thanks.
There's an explanation.
Thank you, Dr. Hawley. Mr. McCray.
Thank you. I just want to mention on number 12, a special thanks to Air Technology for providing the donation of food for last night. I'm sorry I didn't make it last night. Just one of those days you can't get out of the house. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. Ms. Shealy. Mr. Sumter.
Just a very quick question. Have the board tabs changed in that they seem to have had more information on them about whether it was a minority-owned company or not? Am I missing the boxes? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll take it back. I'll take it back. Never mind. Thank you.
All righty. So for the Committee on Business and Finance, we know we want to pull number 6 for further discussion. Are there any other items you want pulled for further discussion? Mr. Brentley.
I reserve the right to pull any and all items for next week's legislative meeting.
Thank you. Mrs. Khaleesi. Mrs. Fink. Dr. Hawley.
No.
Mr. McCray, Ms. Shealy, Mr. Sumter. Thank you all for joining us. Oh, yes, you can.
I just have 2 items I just wanted to mention. Dr. Lane, I would ask if you and your staff, next week for the legislative meeting, I believe that this month of October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This school district is the majority of our staff are women. The majority of folks on this board are women. And I just think if you can prepare some kind of resolution just in support of it, I think it would say a whole lot, number one. And number two, if you would also reach out to make sure that those pink ribbons, that each of us would be able to sit at next week's legislative meeting, to wear the pink ribbons, just for the fact that I don't know of any other legislative body that have jointly made a statement in support of this wonderful thing that happens annually. Secondly, I just want to remind the board and as well as everyone at the table, just in their own way, to take a cause for the pause, or pause for the cause. You know, Dr. Lane, I can't recall in my 14 years of being on this board ever having to hear so much bad news of losing students. I thought that my count was close to 5 this month, 4 or 5. I thought we lost 1 or 2 in a fire. I thought we lost 1 through suicide. I thought we lost 1 in an accident, and then we had 1 with a mistaken identity thing. 1 was a student last year, just recently graduated in a car accident, but nevertheless still a part of this family. And so I just want to remind everybody here that what we do around this table is really important. So I just want to make sure that we keep that in front of everything we do and say at this table. I can't imagine a parent. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Khaleesi.
I just wanted to, I'm not sure if this is finished or not, but we didn't put a time on when the board would have their clearances done and in, and I have no idea where they're at, but I was just going to say as a reminder so that we all do finish doing that. I also would want to remind my colleagues that next week we'll be meeting for our retreat.
Thank you. 7 have been turned in. We're still waiting for the last 2. So we're working on it. Thank you. Mrs. Wenger's keeping us very well organized, as always. Okay. Dr. Hawley.
As a former principal with Pittsburgh Public Schools and having gone through several tragedies at the end of my tenure, I want to say thank you to Mrs. Uhas and her group and their executive director for all of the work that they've done in schools to support them, Mr. Brentley, on this these terrible tragedies that have happened in the district. All of those agencies that were listed in the board tab that give free services, they were there supporting schools. And, you know, you can't even imagine how much help that is when children are walking around the building crying and, you know, parents are there, the principal's totally upset himself and still trying to keep the building functioning, to do the things that they're supposed to be doing. But, you know, I want to say thank you to that department again for the work that they do and for those community agencies that have come out to support our students in these trying times. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. McCray.
Just real quick, this is hot off the email. Tomorrow's Lights On After School Day. It's a student-led function at Heinz History Center. I just scanned through this real quick, but it looks pretty interesting. If anybody, I'll kind of kind of not going to make it to the press in time, is it? But it's tomorrow night from 6 to 6:30 at the Heinz History Center. Okay, and it's national, there you go. I'll show you to you.
It may be in the Post-Gazette
Okay,
tomorrow.
and I've been wearing my pink tie all month. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you all very much. This meeting's adjourned.